Hey there, and welcome back to the Tax Sell Podcast. My name is Casey Dimon. I am the founder of the Tax Sell Academy, author of the Tax Sell Playbook, and I am your host. Today, we are diving into a topic that could save you thousands of dollars and potentially your sanity. We're talking about the hidden tax sale clues, specifically the ones that tell you, do not buy this property. You see, most of the time, when people lose money at tax sales, when they buy properties that they should never have purchased, it's because they ignored the warning signs that were right in front of them. Now, not all properties at tax sales are good properties. In fact, in some areas, the majority are bad properties. So you need to know what you are doing. The warning signs for bad properties are going to be buried in the data. They're going to be tucked into the maps. It's going to be hidden in the legal descriptions. And if you know how to spot them, you can avoid the junk that keeps getting recycled over and over and over again. If you learn just a few little tactics, you can filter these off your list within seconds. So let's break down a few of these clues so you can skip the problems and to focus, of course, on the most profitable deals. So let's get right to the first one is legal descriptions. Let's get one thing straight. When you buy a property at a tax sale, you're not buying an address. You're not even buying what's shown in the photo on your screen or on Zillow or whatever your friend told you is going up for sale. You are buying the legally described piece of land. That's it. Whatever the legal description says, that is what you are buying. It's the piece of dirt and whatever is permanently attached to the top of it. And the legal description isn't always obvious to new investors that don't know how to read them. So, for example, if the legal description says something like E3FT of lot 12, that might be Greek to a lot of people, but that means the eastern 3 feet of the lot, not the whole thing. You get a 3-foot strip. Another one might say something like UND 1/2 INT lot 14. That means you're buying an undivided 1/2 interest in that property, not the entire ownership. You own that property with somebody that you probably don't know. Now, I've got an entire workshop on reading and analyzing and deciphering legal descriptions inside the Tax Sell Academy, and it is one of the favorite workshops among my members. And the reason I have an entire workshop devoted to it is because it is that important. One wrong interpretation of a legal description, and you could end up buying a sliver of land, a shared interest, or something that's just completely unusable. The next one, irregular lot shapes. Let's say listing is a piece of real estate, and it is 43,560 feet according to the county assessor's report. That would be 1 acre. Sounds good, right? A 1 acre piece of property. But what if that 1 acre is by 1 foot? It's still an acre, right? Or let's say you have a narrow triangle that does not meet building setback requirements because of its shape. Irregularly shaped parcels are usually going to be shaped that way for a reason, like leftover land, easements, that kind of thing. And it's rarely good for you as a tax sale investor. Maybe it's leftover land from a subdivision. When they were surveying it, they just had a strip of land left over. Maybe it was a mistake when they were developing it many, many years ago. Maybe it's a utility buffer. Maybe it's just a junk sliver left over after a road was built. Either way, if the shape is weird, zoom in on it and ask yourself, why does this parcel exist? Don't try to force it to be what you want it to be. Instead, be honest with yourself and really see if you can determine why it is shaped that way, because the market probably already has made that determination that the property is worthless, and that's the reason it went through tax foreclosure in the first place. Next one, frequent flyers. If you research a property and you find out that it's been at a tax sale auction multiple times in the past, and it's been sold multiple times in the past, so in other words, one owner fails to pay the taxes, then you have a tax sale investor that buys it, that person fails to pay the taxes, another tax sale investor buys it, and it goes in this cycle over and over and over again. We call these frequent flyers because in the business, we know that when we see a property that's gone through tax foreclosure multiple times without being sold to an end user, that property probably has issues. That property is probably worthless. That property has major issues, maybe even contamination type issues, or it's unbuildable, inaccessible, some sort of unexpected surprise. If a property has gone unsold at 2, 3, 4 auctions, step back. Say, why in the world do I want to buy a piece of property that 2, 3, 4 investors prior to me have not been able to make money off of? Unless you're some sort of magician, you probably need to skip that property. The next one, let's say you're researching a property and it has something like 30 owners. That sounds like a headache waiting to happen. Now, in many states, especially in tax lien states where redemption or notification rights matter a lot, every single one of those owners must be properly notified. So you have a situation where you're trying to track down 30 different people, and odds are you probably aren't going to track down every single one of them. Even in tax deed states, when you go to do a suit to quiet title, it becomes exponentially more difficult when you have dozens and dozens of owners that are involved, particularly if they inherited the property and they never agreed on anything. There are situations where somebody might have a very large family, and they, in an effort to be fair to everybody, they say, you know what, I've got this lot or this house or whatever it is, and I'm going to let my will state that every single one of the living heirs gets a fraction of that property. And it's very possible you have 30, 40 owners in some situations, and that muddies things up very, very quickly. The next one are fractional interest. And if a property assessor's report shows a 10% interest or a 1/80th interest, or even something like week 32, you're probably looking at a property that has some sort of fractional undivided interest, or maybe a timeshare, or maybe a legal interest in a co-owned property. And guess what? That means you don't have full control of that property. You might not even be able to access it the way you want to access it. These things are going to be notoriously hard to sell, hard to insure, hard to use, hard to make money off of. Read that fine print. The next one, permanent deed restrictions. And I'm not talking about the standard no mobile homes or the house must be at least 1,500 square feet. I'm talking about the very serious stuff like conservation easements, public use restrictions, permanent, non-developmental clauses in the deed. So for example, it might say something like, this parcel may not be developed, improved, or altered in any way. That's real language in some deed restrictions. That means you literally bought a piece of property you can't do anything with at all. These are often buried into public records, but they will stay with the land forever. And the fact that you're buying it at a tax sale, you can't just go in and say, you know what, I want to change that. You can't do that because it has deed restrictions against that property. If you don't know what the deed restrictions are, don't assume you'll be able to build that property or you'll even be able to make money when you go to flip it. The next one, suspiciously low opening bids. If a tax deed auction has an opening bid of $23 and it's not a no minimum absolute auction, you have a red flag on your hands. Major red flag. That means that the total debt, interest, and fees that are owed is just $23. That should set off a light bulb, because it means the tax assessed value is extremely low because the property might be unusable and the county values it as almost worthless. Cheap isn't always a deal. In fact, it's often the opposite. Keep that in mind. The next one is on that same note, and that is rock bottom assessed values. If the county assessor, somebody who presumably knows the local real estate market and sees every parcel in that market, if they assign a value to a property of $100, $20, or maybe even $500, that's oftentimes not them being lazy. That's them saying, we don't think this property has much value, if any. So if the assessor assigns a nominal value, you really, really want to dig in deeply before you consider bidding on that property. The next thing you need to look at are the assessor notes. And this is one of the most overlooked clues in this business. Many counties allow assessors to leave public notes, often in the assessor's report of the property, that can provide major clues about the property itself. They might say things like burned structure, demolished in 2021, land in floodplain, drainage easement, water retention area, insurance claim recorded. All these notes are golden when you're researching that property. Now, they're short, oftentimes easy to miss. They're abbreviated in some situations, but they'll tell you exactly, in many situations, why that property is on the tax sale list. Next one, GIS maps that just don't add up. When you look at a GIS map and it just doesn't make sense to you, you probably need to slow down a little bit. Ask yourself honestly what you are seeing. When you look at that map, does it have legal road access? Does it have physical road access? Does it look like the area retention pond? In other words, is it a hole in the ground with a lot of water in it? Because I've seen many retention ponds sold at tax sales. Is it shaped like a normal lot? Is it one little line or one little dot, or is it something that just doesn't look like everything else on that map? There is a reason that piece of property is at a tax foreclosure sale. There's a reason the owner did not pay the taxes on that property. The map will not lie. If it looks strange, don't try to force it into being something in your head. Instead, look at the computer screen, take a look, and say, you know what? That looks weird. You need to believe what you see, skip it, and move on. Again, don't try to imagine something that's different than what you see on your computer screen. Do not force an investment. So let's wrap this up. So if you want to win at tax sales, you need to learn how to spot some of these red flags. There's lots and lots of warning signs. The ones that we discussed today, we have legal descriptions, irregular or unusable shapes, frequent tax sale history, frequent flyers. We have a property that has loads and loads of owners that could cause a lot of issues. We have fractional or timeshare interest, permanent deed restrictions. We have suspiciously low opening bids, ultra low assessed values, assessor warning notes, and GIS maps that just don't make sense. If you spot these clues, you will skip the worst properties before they drain your time, energy, and your capital. Listen, there's lots and lots of other clues out there, but hopefully these provide just a little bit of a head start of what to look for when you're researching your next tax sale list. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of the Tax Sale Podcast. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please do us a huge favor. If you're watching on YouTube, click that thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to us on a podcasting platform, do us a huge favor and leave a 5-star review and potentially even a positive feedback comment if you can spare just a few seconds. It really helps us out in the algorithm world. And as always, for more information on tax sale investing, make sure you check out our comprehensive training platform at taxsaleacademy.com. Hey, take care, folks, and make it a successful day. We'll see you next time right here on the Tax Sale Podcast. Bye-bye.